of Marines that will be put out is just enough to overwhelm you, and just acting as a huge shield to those siege tanks. And all you really need is just a couple, one or two Colossus out to clear all those Marines up, because they probably will not have what's it called, why do I always forget what combat shields? That's it. Instead, Stim is getting research, as is siege tech. So these, I would hazard to guess that when this attack comes, there will not be any sort of the combat shields will not be finished unless another tech lab goes down on these bricks. Which, just based on this build, you really need those Marines. You can't afford the gas to get those double upgrades going up. Don't expect those to be coming out. So those Colossus will utterly shred the Marines. Just take them down that quickly. Banshee does come in through the back, just as a defeat, gets 3 kills on probes, then backs off quite happily, loses no damage for 3 kills. Great trade for Terran. And so going back to the unit counting tab, we can say that I am slightly ahead on the probe count, as I have been doing my probably not my best job, I would say, of making probes the whole time. Although I would say that I do have the proper army composition to deal with this attack, which we do see is starting to move out. Second Colossus has just finished. There are a heavy amount of Zealots, not too many Stalkers, as... oh, actually there's 6. That's about enough to deal with 2 or 3 Banshees. And I do believe this 1 Stalker back here to stop this Banshee, which is something that many turns will do with this build. They'll attack you in the back, and then move up with the Banshee in the back to take out probes, and even if the attack fails, it will go. And so here we go. Here is the siege check. Probe line is getting shelled. PDD does go down, so the tank cannot get sniped by those Stalkers. High ground. And my army does come out, and here we go. Bunkers attempt to be constructed. Now all the tanks are siege, and these Marines are really bunched up. This Colossus is tearing through them, and right. 1 tank does go down, 2 tanks down, and this Colossus is doing a hell of a lot of damage to these Marines. And these last 2 tanks will finally go down, and the Colossus will survive, which I think for MGDwell could have been done, controlled better. If he had focused fire that Colossus, that battle would have gone a lot better for him. And we can see this Banshee did go into the back. It did get an extra 2 kills, killed 1 Stalker and 1 probe, but not too much, but definitely that Banshee worth its weight in gold just for that attack. And Thermal Lance has finished for Colossus, so now they are just that much more deadly against these Marines. And at this point I'm feeling quite confident. I have a fairly good feel about my opponent's doing. As you can see, I'm 20 foot ahead. In terms of workers, I'm still not that far ahead. Neither of us are doing that great a job of continually making workers, although to give myself some credit, I did lose about 4 to that Banshee and probably another 4 or 5 to those siege tanks, but not altogether too much to excuse my low worker count. And so now, at this point, I'm feeling quite far ahead. I know I held off an attack. I've got the Colossus tech going, so I will be putting down a Forge and a Twilight Council to just continue to attack, and I would expect for anyone found in this position would expand quite quickly. And MGDwell, he knows that he's fairly behind, not too far behind, but definitely not in a good position. I do realize watching this replay that had I attacked at this moment, there would literally have been no real way for me to, well, no effective way for MGDwell to fend off in a counterattack without any real heavy serious losses for this. And that's one reason I really like this expansion, because he knows he's well behind, and there's no real way for him to actually get back into this unless he does some sort of crazy cheese with this Banshee, which is not being very active, which I think could have been done better. Although I did keep this 1 Stalker at the back of my base for most of the game to ward any of that type of thing off. So I will be putting down my 3rd base, actually quite a ways behind MGDwell's 3rd, which, looking back, it was not a very good idea for me. It should have gone down immediately to just secure that advantage even more so, although right now I have MGDwell has gained some initiative, and 4 tech labs going down on these barracks. There's 6 barracks now, all going to be with tech labs, so MGDwell is going for quite a dramatic switch. He's going to stick with these tanks, but no more with the Banshees. He will be going for Marauder tank, which will be quite interesting. And MGDwell probably does have he has a reasonable idea that this expansion will be up, just based on what has happened and being that the Banshee has spotted this pylon. And so for myself, my +1 armor will be finishing. I'm continuing to produce Colossus, although not quite at this moment. And Charge is almost finished, which probably my favorite upgrade in the whole game next to Warp Gate. Just if you played Toss and you ever just been 3 racks at all, or even if you're Terran and you excuse me, cough there, but if you attack a Toss with a heavy zealot count early in the game, and it's just so easy to kite those zealots without proper force field, that Charge just I just feel that Charge lots, there's no real answer that Terran actually has to for Charge lots. Even Blue Flame Hellions will not do too well against Charge lots, just because as they charge, they don't bunch up that much, and even when they do bunch up, it's just for that crucial second. While Zerglings are just run straight in. So the Blue Flame Hellions really are better against the what's it called, against the Zerglings than they are against the Charge lots, I find. And MGDwell has actually done a fairly good job of closing the gap in food. He's now only about 10 food behind, and right now it seems as if I've squandered the advantage in this game, and MGDwell has just gone back into it. Although I am quite a way ahead in workers right now, 56 to 42. Although MGDwell does have those 3 orbital commands shoving down mules the entire time, so that will most likely be the best for me. And I do have this observer station over here, just in case of spotting drops. Do I spot this? I do have the ability to see this, but I'm not quite sure if I actually react to it. And we shall see in a moment. Although these 2 cannons at the back to stop against Banshees will spawn, and there is a medevac. It will not go down, but it will take some cannon fire. And so a couple Marines are coming in here, probably on autofall to the medevac, and I do move these 3 stalkers up here to deflect this drop if it were to come in. Yep. These Marines rallied in poorly.